The movie starts in New York, on an old ship named Matamar, where two workers are busy repairing it. One of them starts removing a metal plate, thinking it could sell for a lot of money. Ah yes, the classic get-rich-quick by stealing ship parts plan. What could possibly go wrong? As soon as the plate comes off, a burst of pressure escapes, knocking both of them backwards. The male worker says it's all fine, but the female worker feels uneasy. She's seen something strange coming out from that opening. Suddenly, a dwarf-like creature jumps at her, hits her, and disappears. Her partner helps her up, but before they can move far, the strange creature appears again. It's shaped like a giant rat and, without warning, attacks the man, biting off his ears and nose. Talk about a bad day? Lost money? Lost face? Literally. The female worker panics and runs. She reaches the engine room, but the rat creature is already there. She tries to escape but accidentally steps on the severed ear of her now dead partner. She slips and falls. And that's why wearing proper footwear is important, folks. Right back into the spot they had just opened. She looks up and sees the rat creature staring at her before it jumps down at her. The scene shifts to a girl named Selena, who is running in panic. She reaches the terminal and talks to a ship worker. Seeing her out of breath, he asks why she's so nervous. Selena explains she was working as a waitress at a birthday party. The party ended, but the birthday girl, Cindy, and her friend wanted to keep partying on the streets, so they started following her. Selena wanted to go home, so she came to catch the ship. The worker tells her to hide on the lower deck, while he figures out how to deal with Cindy. Soon, Cindy and her friends arrive, asking if he's seen Selena. He lies and says she went to the upper deck, so they go searching there. All passengers and crew are now aboard. The captain announces they will soon depart, but an operator warns him about heavy fog and suggests waiting. The captain refuses, saying he's been on duty too long and wants to go home. Imagine risking an entire ship just because you're sleepy. Peak management decision-making. He orders the journey to begin. The operator warns him again but tells him to stay in contact. As the ship moves, passengers settle in. A nurse notices an old man sleeping in a seat. When she gets closer, he suddenly wakes, grabs her hand and warns, "This ship is cursed by their alcohol." She ignores him, probably thinking he's just drunk. To be fair, cursed by alcohol sounds like half the people on a Friday night. Meanwhile, Selena is still hiding on the lower deck, talking to the same worker again. She tells him she has written her dreams in a diary, but could never fulfill them. Elsewhere on the ship, a man wearing a big costume mask goes to another deck to rest. He hears someone whistling, checks around, but finds no one. When he sits down again, he notices his mask is now placed in front of him, instead of on the seat. When he reaches for it, the creature attacks his legs, injuring him badly. Then, in a gruesome twist, the creature shoves a torch into the back of his head. It goes straight through, destroying his face and killing him painfully. And that, kids, is why we don't answer mysterious whistling sounds. Later, Selena goes to the washroom, where she meets the nurse, who returns her diary, saying she found it on the floor. Selena thanks her but throws the diary in the trash as soon as the nurse leaves. She no longer cares about it or New York. She leaves the bathroom without noticing that, in the next cabin, a scaly creature is eating a human body. The journey continues, and a police officer heads to the upper deck for duty. There, he hears a strange Mickey Mouse-like laugh. He realizes someone, or something, is coming up the stairs. And this is the part where any smart person would just quit their job on the spot. The officer went to check the noise, but before he could react, someone came up the stairs and smashed his leg with a hammer, knocking him down. His gun slid far away. As he crawled toward it, the attacker smashed his hand with the hammer, breaking his bones. Blood poured out and he screamed in agony. He froze in terror when he saw who it was, Mucky Mouse standing right in front of him. Imagine your last sight being a creepy discount Mickey Mouse. Tragic. Selena, passing by, heard the screams and went to check. At the rear of the ship, she saw the mouse in the Mucky Mouse costume holding the police officer and shoving him toward the ship's wing. The officer's head was already cracked open with a pen, and Selina was horrified by the gruesome sight. Then Mucky Mouse noticed her, and instantly fell in love at first sight. Clearly, this mouse has the worst dating standards in history. He even tried to impress her by showing the half-cut body of the officer as if it was a romantic gift. Selina bolted, running to the nurse and the worker, telling them what she saw. Terrified, she explained, "I saw a mouse in a Mucky Mouse costume. It's a terrifying creature and it killed a police officer." Of course, nobody believed her. Still, the officer told the nurse to take Selina to a safe place while he went to search for the missing officer. Meanwhile, the captain noticed the fog had grown thicker, so he tried to contact the control room. But then he spotted something strange. The wall ahead had pictures of all the previous captains hanging together. He was confused, wondering who could have done that. Just then, Mucky Mouse sneaked up behind him and wrapped an iron chain around his neck, trying to strangle him. The captain fought back, but the mouse sliced his throat and completely decapitated him. Now, in full control, Mucky Mouse took over the ship, changed its course, and even started playing music, because nothing says mass murder like background tunes. Soon the senior officer arrived and was horrified to see the captain's severed head and the blood-covered cabin. Realizing the captain was dead, he decided that meant he was now the new captain. He quickly took charge, appointing the worker, who earlier told Selina to hide on the lower deck, as his assistant. He ordered that all passengers and crew be sent to the lower deck so no one would find out what happened upstairs. Another officer would help with this. Meanwhile, Mucky Mouse roamed another part of the ship and spotted Cindy's two friends making videos. Without hesitation, he started up a forklift and drove toward them. Before the girls could escape, he rammed into them, killing them in a brutal way. That's one way to crash a TikTok livestream. The nurse happened to pass by, saw the whole thing, and now fully believed Selina's story. She rushed off to tell Selina and the others. Back with the passengers, the assistant told everyone to go down to the death chamber. When everyone went inside, Selina, the nurse, and the assistant also tried to enter, but the door was locked from the inside. Panic spread quickly. A crew member shouted, "The captain has been killed!" And everyone started to fear the ship was under attack. The officer tried to calm them, saying, "We will all live and die together." Nothing reassures people like casually mentioning dying together. But before he could finish, Mucky Mouse shoved a broom into his neck, silencing him forever. Seeing this, the crew attacked Mucky Mouse, trying to kill him, but he grabbed a fire hose and blasted them back. When the whole area filled with water, he tossed in electric wires, shocking everyone violently. Selina, the nurse, and the assistant, horrified, ran to the other deck, where they found Cindy peacefully sleeping on a bench. Yes, because why not nap during a murder spree? Truly inspirational priorities. Seeing this horrifying scene, Selina, the nurse, and the assistant decided they should use the radio to tell the control room to take the ship back to port. Meanwhile, Mucky Mouse was wandering around looking for his next victim when he spotted a stash of liquor bottles. As he tried to grab one, he sniffed something unusual. Human scent. Turns out a boy named Martio was hiding there. Honestly, hiding next to alcohol when a psycho rat is on the loose is like hiding in a bakery from a hungry bear. Martio had survived, but sadly, his mother had been killed earlier by an electric shock. Before Mucky could attack him, another passenger arrived and pulled Martio away to safety. In another part of the ship, a girl who hadn't gone down to the lower deck found a police officer sleeping on a bench. She woke him up saying there was something wrong with the lights and asked him to check. But bad luck struck. They didn't know Mucky Mouse was hiding in a cupboard nearby. The moment they approached, Mucky slashed the officer's body with a blade, causing him to bleed so badly that he died a painful death. Terrified, the girl tried to run, but Mucky quickly cut her throat with a rod. This mouse doesn't do run and hide. He does run and slice. Back with Selina's group, they headed toward the captain's cabin, but Cindy got separated. Selina decided to go back and look for her. On the way, they met Martio and the same passenger, who explained they had barely survived the electric shock. The assistant then began leading them to the captain's cabin. Meanwhile, the senior officer was trying to fix the radio to contact the control room, but then he heard a strange noise. Turning around, he saw Mucky holding a TV. Before he could react, Mucky smashed it down on his head, crushing it completely. The officer died instantly. Then, for his own twisted fun, Mucky stood on the TV and started dancing. Some killers leave clues, this one leaves a live talent show. Elsewhere, Cindy was stumbling around alone. Once her drunken haze wore off, she realized she was separated from everyone. Worried, she tried to call her group, but there was no signal. She kept moving until she finally got some reception, only to see her friend had sent her a photo, and in the background, Mucky was standing, peeking out. When Cindy looked closely, she was horrified. Soon after, she bumped into the mask from a costume she had picked up earlier. She put it on, but a severed head suddenly dropped in front of her. She screamed and stepped back, only to find another friend's blood-soaked body hanging there. Terrified, Cindy then came face to face with Mucky, who was holding an iron weapon. He tried to attack her, but she managed to run and lock a door between them. From the other side, she taunted him, saying he was ugly and lazy and couldn't even catch her. Bold move, Cindy, trash-talking a killer rat with a weapon. Upstairs, they discovered a creepy message written in blood. Screaming is your heart's desire. The atmosphere became even more terrifying. Then came bad news. The radio was beyond repair. They wouldn't be able to contact the control room. Panic spread, and no one knew what to do. Suddenly, a hand grabbed Selena's leg, making everyone jump, but it turned out to be the old man who had earlier warned the nurse that the ship was cursed. He had been hiding all this time, which is why he survived. The old man told them he knew the rat, Mucky Mouse, who was hunting everyone. He revealed the rat's real name, Screamboat Willie. Then he began to tell the whole story, starting from the 1950s, when he first heard about a strange rat. On a ship called Moti Marmi, there lived a rat-like creature named Willie, who looked suspiciously like a low-budget version of Mickey Mouse. Basically Mickey's long-lost cousin who failed in life and joined a shady cruise line. The captain of the ship met Willie there, and they became very close friends. People said Willie was kept to entertain kids and adults, making them laugh. Whoever visited the Moti Marmi would go home happy after meeting him. The captain loved Willie dearly, and they went on many voyages together. But one day, a dangerous storm hit, and the captain died. Willie was heartbroken. He had no one else except his captain. Now he was all alone on the Moti Marmi. He ended up locked inside a box for years until, by mistake, 2 workers opened the door and freed him. An old man later explained that Willie was now killing people because parts of the old Moti Marmi ship had been reused in the current ship. Willie had come along with that cargo and decided this was now his home. His logic was simple. If you enter my house, you get evicted. Permanently. When the ship's assistant and others learned the truth, they decided to go to the engine room and signal for help with a flare gun. They split into 2 teams, one with Selena and a nurse, the other with Assistant Martio and a passenger. On the way, they met a female worker who had somehow survived Willie's earlier attack. She warned that the ship's pipeline was damaged, and if not repaired soon, the entire machinery would fail. The assistant and passenger went to help her. But once inside, the assistant found a broken pipe and started fixing it. When suddenly, the female worker smashed the passenger with a wrench. Lesson learned. Never trust anyone who smiles too much while holding a heavy tool. She then put on a helmet with ears like Mickey Mouse and revealed she was following Willie's orders. Apparently, Willie wanted control over the whole ship because he was searching for a special friend he had lost in the ocean. Meanwhile, Selena and the nurse were moving ahead, unaware that Willie was crawling above them on the roof. Realizing danger, they tried to walk quietly, but the nurse stepped on a nail. Before she could scream, Selena quickly covered her mouth. They spotted a flare box nearby, but as Selena reached for it, she heard heavy breathing behind her. Turning around, she saw Willie, holding a bouquet, but instead of flowers, it was made from human ears. This guy skipped the florist and went straight to the crime scene. Selena screamed, but the nurse stabbed Willie in the eye with a screwdriver. Injured, Willie howled in pain and attacked her, but Selena smashed him with an iron rod, knocking him back. They ran for their lives, only to discover the flare box was empty. The female worker had stolen it earlier to protect Willie's plan. Later, when the female worker tried to attack the assistant again, Willie appeared. She saluted him like a loyal soldier, but he was furious. He yanked the screwdriver from his eye and bit her brutally. The assistant took the chance to grab the flare gun and told the passenger to escape with him. But the passenger refused, saying he'd kill the dirty, dangerous rat. He stayed behind, shot the oil tank with the flare gun, and caused a massive explosion. The engine room caught fire, killing the passenger and injuring Willie. Martio and the assistant barely escaped in time, leaving the burning chaos behind. And hopefully, they also left behind their trust issues, because after this trip, they'll never believe in friendly ship mascots again. Selina and the nurse finally reached the spot where the assistant and Martio were trapped. Both girls tried to save them because the place was quickly filling with water. The debris on top was so heavy that they couldn't clear it all, only enough to make a small opening to escape. Somehow, the assistant pulled Martio out first, then crawled out himself. But before he could run, Mia bit his leg. Instead of escaping, the assistant decided to challenge Willie to a fight, because apparently survival instincts were on vacation in his brain. Willie actually showed up, but Selina begged the assistant to stop and come with her. The assistant, thinking he was some captain hero, refused. He told Selina to run and save herself. Then suddenly, Willie lunged at him, and the two started brawling. In the fight, the assistant sacrificed himself, dying in the process. Selina was heartbroken, but she and the nurse had no choice but to run. The nurse told Selina that Willie wasn't really dead. He'd come back to finish off the remaining people on the ship. So they started thinking of ways to stop him. Then Martio showed them an old photograph from 1950. Apart from Willie, there was another rat in the picture, standing with the captain. They guessed that during a storm, the other rat had fallen into the sea and Willie had been searching for him all this time. Hearing this, Selina thought Willie might calm down if reminded of his friend. She started rummaging through clothes and found a white dress with black spots, exactly like Mickey Mouse. Basically, she turned herself into Disneyland's budget version. She put it on to attract Willie's attention. Meanwhile, the nurse and Martio boarded the ship and spotted another vessel passing by. The nurse waved for help, and the captain of that ship waved back, steering toward them. But then she heard heavy breathing behind her. She turned and saw Willie, holding an iron rod. He moved in to attack. She tried to dodge but slipped and fell. Before Willie could strike, the sound of a whistle rang out. Someone calling his name. It was Selina, dressed in her disguise, pretending to be his long-lost companion. As Willie approached, Selina tried to hit him with a hammer, but he dodged at the last second. She ran to help the nurse, leaving Martio alone. Willie then grabbed Martio and tossed him overboard into the water. Selina ran to save him, but her foot slipped, and she dangled from the ship's edge. Willie raised the iron rod to knock her down, but then he hesitated. Seeing her reminded him of his lost friend. Instead of pushing her, he pulled her back up. To impress Selina, Willie gave her a real flower this time. Yep, nothing says romance like, "Here's a flower," after I tried to kill your friends. But the nurse regained consciousness and angrily yelled at Willie, distracting him. Selina seized the chance and stabbed him in the head with scissors. Furious, but strangely calm, Willie said goodbye before falling into the sea, apparently dead. Selina and the nurse hugged in relief. Then Selina went to rescue Martio, who had survived by clinging to a floating dustbin. A few hours later, a ship arrived to save them. Martio's father thanked Selina and the nurse for saving his son's life. Before leaving, Martio gave Selina her diary, which he had found in the dustbin. Delighted, Selina decided she wouldn't leave New York and would fulfill her dreams. But danger was far from over. Willie's body washed up in a distant garbage dump, fully healed. Standing beside him was his long-lost partner. The two rats were ready for revenge, and New York City was clearly in for a massive rat disaster. Then, over the ship's control room radio, came a distress call. It was from the assistant, alive but still trapped inside the ship after his fight with Willie. The operator immediately set off to rescue him, and with that, the movie ended.